Have you ever taken a task that's really central to what it is that you're doing and given it to AI and experienced that it could do it really, really well? So well, in fact, that it gets you really excited and happy about it. If that's the case, you might recognize the story that I'm about to tell here. So I've been thinking for some years about writing a book. I've been working in men's work and doing all kinds of men's gathering and stuff like that. And I've really wanted to, even especially for myself, just to distill all my things I've experienced and learning into a book form to really figure out for myself and be able to communicate it to other people as well. And so about 2 years ago, I kind of really started setting myself down and putting into, some kind of structure about how to make this book. And my son at the time was really getting into AI himself. And so he said, hey, Dad, why don't you try and use AI to try and structure some of your ideas and think things through and kind of plan out and, help you with writing the task. And I thought, oh, that might be an interesting idea. I can at least try it out. And so what happened is that as I did this, I dived into it. I experienced just like it was absolutely amazing how AI could kind of sort through a lot of mixed experiences and bring things together in a way that actually was incredibly appealing, very, very beautiful prose, better than what I could write myself, and do it incredibly fast, of course, as well, and just create an output that seemed to be a real extension of what was possible for me and what I could do. I've been reading Marshall McLuhan. If you're familiar with him, he wrote a book called The Medium is the Message back in the 70s, where he talks about how technology is an expansion of the person. So wheels are like an expansion of your feet, or a hammer is an expansion of your hand, allows us to do many more things. The electronic media, of course, an expansion of our nervous system. And so that was really this experience that I had, and I most described it as a kind of euphoria that I had. Like it was, I noticed I was spending hours and hours, like just using the production was amazing. What I could do with this tool and using AI. And so allowing it to do more and more things for me, and going further and further with it. And then, spending late nights sometimes working on it and just being amazed at what I was able to produce. And so what happened is I actually wrote the first draft of the book, and was like, there was still a whole lot of things that I felt like, maybe this isn't right, maybe this isn't right. But I thought like, wow, this is really a good book that I've written here. And I sent it off to my editor, and his first comment when he started reading was like, wow, this is really good, Paul. But then as he got into the book more and more, he actually really didn't like it at all and had really big problems with it. It like basically just said like, you at least need to cut out like 30-40%, and there's just some really big structural problems. And so that kind of hit me quite hard. And I had to actually take, 3 months or so where I just put everything aside. When I came back to the book and read it again, then I experienced two really big things. The first of all was that I realized that the AI had kind of, in its very pleasing, very conforming, validating way, had kind of convinced me that I was onto a good task, and it really just kind of encourages you and tells you everything about you is fantastic and amazing. So I had gone down a path of writing the book that was actually far more confused and muddled, and was lacking a clear focus and red thread that was really needed to create a good book. But secondly, and even more so, because then I decided, okay, I'm going to rewrite this thing, and I'm going to do it without AI, I decided. And so as I sat down to do that, then what I found is that I had what I can only just describe as withdrawal symptoms. It was incredibly difficult to hold my focus on the writing of the book and to not get distracted. I kept on having the thought popping up in my mind, oh, I should just talk to AI about this. Oh, I don't know how to do this. Oh, I should go and ask about AI. And I had to constantly be pushing this away because I decided I wanted to write this thing myself and to figure it out myself. Or, I used my wife instead, or friends, to have conversations about it instead of the AI. So real people who actually knew me, not just a machine that was going to spit out some kind of, answer that, I really believe is, I believe these AIs are designed not with our best interests at heart. They're designed to exploit weaknesses in our psychology, to hold our attention, and to get us to become dependent on them. And that's exactly what it had done to me. I'd become dependent on it. I had, created some kind of pathway in my brain, and especially that feeling of euphoria, I realized it had to be paid back, because now I suddenly had cut off that kind of pathway for being able to use that that tool to be able to expand and produce. And so I had to put up with the boredom and the frustration and the difficulty of thinking things through myself. And it was really hard, actually. I'm 45 years old, maybe there's a part of it as well. But just, like making those neural connections again myself, thinking things through, waiting, being patient enough to talk to somebody else who can find the time, because AI just gives you answers straight away, any time of the day. You can wake up in the middle of the night and it's going to give you all the answers you want. But now I had to wait for other people. So it was a whole other much longer process, and I'd say it actually lasted about 6 months. And the only way I was actually able to get through this is I asked my editor, very experienced editor, written several books himself, and I said to him, how do I get through this? What do I do about this? And he says, Paul, if this is important for you, you just need to make a commitment to yourself that every single day of your life you're going to spend some time working on your book. Because otherwise you're not going to get it done. That's what he's done throughout his entire career. And so I did that, and it was still incredibly difficult, and I wasn't even managing to do it every day. Sometimes I just look at that blank page for some time and then get distracted and not do anything anyway. And so I actually had to get a friend who was willing to be like on daily conversations with me, where we'd check in every single day, 5 days a week. Paul, did you do your writing for today? And after a couple of months of that, then the flow eventually started coming again, and I was able to get things running, get the writing process going, and even have that experience of flow with writing that I've always loved writing. It's always been one of my favorite things to do, but it was really, really difficult to get it back again. And so I really feel like I put myself in danger. I was cutting off a part of myself somehow, damaging a part of myself, something that had given me real joy and enjoyment in life, from using this kind of fake shortcut that AI promises to deliver, but I don't think actually gives the goods. And I think more and more we're going to see people who just are experts at spotting AI content. And I can notice myself that aversion that I have as soon as I can feel that there's been an AI involved in creating some kind of content. So yeah, and I think the one who was suffering the most from it, the most pain and negative effects from it, was really myself, from using it as a content creator. So yeah, I saw Paul Kingsnorth was actually out not so long ago saying to people like, hey guys, let's band together as content creators and authors and resolve to never use any AI at all in our work. I think Nicholas Kotar, another guy I really respect, has said like, well, maybe we don't need to be as extreme as that. So yeah, I'm curious if any other people listening here have had any similar experiences or thoughts about it, what other reflections there might be. But yeah, for me, I definitely will say that I think AI is a technology that can be used in some circumstances, but especially when it comes to these core competencies and putting out something as like trying to formulate your deepest, most heartfelt ideas in a book. It's something that AI should be extremely limited in whatever way it's used. So thanks for listening, and looking forward to hearing your thoughts.